anytime you send someone a URL, they have the ability to refresh that URL, get new information on your project, on whatever it is you're sharing, whether it be a payment app, draw a package, whether it be a schedule, a report. So lots of functionality there. And here you're seeing right now this AI generated scope of work for demolition in this example, because I ran it off of the demo line item under bid management. You can interact with it. You could copy and paste it. And this is really supportive of those like administrative functions. And I guess I'll flip to two more pieces. We touched on insurance, so I'm going to go to accounting and insurance here. What you can do here is so neat. You can create as many, insurance accounts as you want. You can collaborate with your teams, with your insurance teams, internal teams, stakeholders. You can log your COIs. Automated reminders are going to go out anywhere you enter a due date or accountability workflows. So lots of automations are occurring in regard to accountability, in regard to transparency over that accountability. So you don't have to any longer somehow remember things like permit management as well. And all of these items, regardless of if you are an account admin or an individual user, under open items, you'll be able to see what you've been assigned to. If you're an individual user, if you're an admin, you get to see, across all of your portfolio and projects, who's responsible for what remains open, lots of search capability. You can refine this to ball in your court to understand what you're responsible for. So tons of functionality. I just ran through that pretty quick. Mike, I could pause if you had any questions on that.
No real questions on that, but I mean, really, it's a powerful solution, and I wonder, without necessarily spilling any trade secrets, how is it that Jet.Build is able to offer a program as robust as this without, really kind of calling for a major premium from the users?
Absolutely. So what's really neat, and kind of going back to that founder story. So Joseph and I started building out this platform for ourselves starting in 2017. And we were really just building out these solutions without an intention of creating a business, without hiring external employees, right? So by the time that we came at Jet ready to be a business, that was a few years later, when we accidentally recognized that we had built a few $100 million of construction on the product. It was working really well for us, and that we created this robust end-to-end solution. Bringing it to market at that point, we were able to do so without, extensive overhead, and therefore we can, create a price point that is not gouging our clients, and that we're able to sustain a company accordingly. So just a neat circumstance where, we don't have, this huge back end to need to cover.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And honestly, one of the features that really caught my eye was that drawing function, the ability to track the changes, identify them as part of a change order, and kind of really dialing into that. So what are some of your clients telling you about things like that? Like, are you guys looking to expand on that? Are you kind of just taking input as you go?
Absolutely. So I'll answer that question in a few ways. One is our product roadmap is built specifically on client feedback and also how we see our customers using the product. So what I mean by that is, of course, client feedback is a simple understanding. Is if a client says, hey, what about XYZ report? That would work really well for us. Or what about adding a workflow to this solution? So we take that and we'll provide them with a real timeline for our implementation. And really neat is we average a 10-day turnaround to implement that feedback, which is a nice outcome of working with new technology. We just have the agility to implement and innovate quickly. And then in terms of looking at how clients use the product, customers use the product and innovating accordingly, is we'll see, if, for example, on submittals, this was a way that we used our data to create a more intuitive product, where we originally built submittals with a second layer, thinking that clients would have more versions to them. However, we recognized that after 3 billion plus of construction, clients were typically having plus minus 3 versions, and therefore we removed a layer, allowed for submittals to be managed on one landing page rather than having a second. And that just created a more intuitive UI, UX, user experience and interface. So that's just an example of how we study our back-end data. And moving beyond that, in terms of the drawing tool, That was actually one of the largest gaps that we closed since focusing on Jet full time. And that was caused by feedback from clients and potential clients, just understanding that that was a tool that was so relevant for their day-to-day use, especially as it related to closing out RFIs and being able to link RFIs and, like you pointed out, change orders to specific changes on the plans, linking punch lists to specific drawing sheets to close out projects. So we were able to prioritize that and implement the drawing tool based on the needs of our customers. And in terms of innovating, what we're looking at and really excited about, don't yet have a timeline for this, but we've been testing AI's implementation on drawing management tool with the intention of having the ability to essentially search within your drawings using AI. So to say, hey, understand where XYZ sheet lives in this drawing set, or understand what change occurred between drawing sets. So a little bit more robust functionality further than, just the simple overlay that we have already.
Yeah, no, that's certainly expanding on that. That's an awesome thing to hear. I mean, certainly from an insurance and risk mitigation standpoint, this kind of documentation and that level of communication is a welcome thing for any project team, right? To be able to pinpoint exactly what we're talking about and then disseminate that information to all the various stakeholders. I wonder, you mentioned getting feedback from your clients, prospective clients. Is it just the end users themselves, or is it kind of their partners as well? Because I could easily see how the risk management team, as opposed to builders within that GC, would go, hey, we want X functionality.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, exactly to your point, is we encourage that feedback from all users, and to kind of further our ability to gain that feedback is what we offer at the time of onboarding is we'll tell the license holder, the client, which typically is either the builder or the GC or the general contractor. We'll tell them, hey, if you want us to onboard your external stakeholders, we offer that as a part of the activation package. Reason being is, that supports in the collective use and, everybody actually, onboarding and using the product to the extent that it exists and that it could support the process. So when we onboard those external teams, if it's, for example, the insurance team, like you brought up, then that gives us the connection point with that team and the ability to tell them directly, hey, you're getting onboarded for the insurance module. If you have we're running through the functionality of this. You have any questions up front, amazing, tell us. If you have any questions in a month from now, 2 months from now, whatever it may be, please reach out. It'd be great to hear that feedback and to implement accordingly. So our intention is really to essentially pool best practices from all teams across the globe, and then allow for end users to leverage those best practices.
Excellent. Adam, I mean, this has been a really impressive conversation so far. I think it'd be great value to our audience. We typically like to ask for 3 takeaways, right? So if I'm listening today and there were 3 big things you'd want the audience to leave this conversation with, what do you think those 3 things should be?
Yeah, great question. So, I'm going to take one step back and then forward to answer.
Sure.
The step back is going to touch on friction that I generally come across in companies adopting technology, which tends to be the preconceived notion of technology being difficult to implement, being a heavy lift and a heavy cost. So I bring those up to say, and to address now your question in terms of my takeaways is, if you're a leader in your company, or even if you're not a leader, right, you should ask internally, search internally to understand what values surround or lack of values surround innovation, seeking innovation for your team and for your company. That's one. 2 is to recognize that solutions exist today that are cost effective and intuitive to use. Going back to that, iPhone or Android example, right? You don't need some heavy lift to get a new phone. You don't need some certificate to get a new phone, and relatively so, it's cost effective, right? So recognize that new tech today is enabling companies to adopt technology quickly in a cost effective manner. And I guess lastly is to say it's all kind of connected to the same concept here.